Good afternoon. Welcome to Midcap Radar, live from the CNBC-TV18 Motilal Oswal studio. I'm Sonal Bhutra. With me, as always, is Vivek Iyer. Another day in the red, and the low today is 26,030. So we're very close to the day's low as we speak. Across the board, there is some selling pressure that has come by the mid-cap. That's where the selling pressure is actually intensified. So we'll discuss that and a lot more on the show today, Vivek.
Right. Good afternoon, Sonal. Like you mentioned, pressure all across market breadth, especially in the broader end of the markets, skewed very much in favor of the declines. We have a lot lined up on the show, so let's start off with the top headlines. A weak rupee continues to pressure stocks, which open weak but steady after the fall amid expectations of some volatility due to F&O expiry on NSE. Financials and healthcare are the big drags, while telecom stocks see some green.
Telecom Minister Jyotiraditya Scindia tells CNBC-TV18 a proposal from Voda Idea on an age-year relief is awaited, and the government should be able to review and recommend relief in about 2 weeks after. He clarifies that any other telco seeking similar relief will need to approach the Supreme Court.
Mastek gains in trade after sources tell CNBC-TV18 that the promoters of the company are exploring a 20% stake sale at a 25% premium.
MV Photovoltaic shares surged 10% after company's Q2 profit jumped almost 7 times and its EBITDA jumped 4.3 times on a YOY basis. Management tells CNBC-TV18 that the second half of this year will even be better than the first half.
Spark surges in trade after a US court grants judgment in favor of the company in the matter of issuance of priority review voucher in Sensex.
Okay, all right, those are the top headlines. As I indicated earlier, market is very close to the day's low. It is at 26,035. Important level to watch out for will be that 26,000 mark. Other than that, if we look at the mid caps, it's a 205-point downtick on that one. It is also close to the day's low, and the advanced decline ratio is now in favor of declines by a huge margin. It's only the PSU banking index which is in the green right now, and that is something which is batting for the bulls, but failing, of course. And we do have the bank Nifty as well, which is down around 200 points. So across the board, it is a red-looking screen. But there are few stocks which are bucking the trend today, Vivek.
Very few stocks bucking the trend. Key amongst them being IEX. You know, Friday we actually had the hearing happen as far as Aptel is concerned. It was status quo, judgment deferred till Jan 6, but post which that particular stock moved 5% yesterday and another 2.5% today. But this and a whole host of other stocks is what Sudarshan has on his radar. This is our special segment, Midcap Movers. Sudarshan is standing by the wall to take us to the mid-caps that are moving around in this session.
So market is under pressure today. All the frontline indices are trading with cuts. So let's take a look at some of the mid-cap movers. So on top of the list is Union Bank, because there is a release from NSE regarding reaching a Nifty bank weightage, and that's one of the reasons why Union Bank has seen an up move. It's up almost 3%. Bajaj Housing Finance is under pressure because Bajaj Finance, that's the promoter company of the Bajaj Housing Finance, and it has announced a sale of 2% stake in the company, and that's the reason the stock is under pressure, currently down 6%. HCC, there was a positive development, and that's the reason you are seeing a big move in the stock, up more than 11%. MV had announced earnings for Q2, and the earnings had looked very strong, and on the back of that, stock has moved sharply higher, up 10%. Vodafone Idea, there was a comment from Telecom Minister that by this month end, or say by 2025 end, there would be certain updates regarding its relief package, and tracking that news, the stock has moved higher. And some of the other mid-cap gainers, if Vodafone Idea has moved higher, it's taking Indus Towers along with itself, and that's the reason Indus Towers too has moved higher, 1% currently. At one point, the stock was up almost 3%. Some of the other names are there. Spark, there's a positive development from US court, and the judgment is in favor of the company, and that's the reason you are seeing a big move, currently up almost 20%. Info Edge had released jobs peak index for the month of November, and one sector that basically is tracked very closely is the IT, and that saw a growth of 14% YOY, and that's the reason this stock is also up. Canara Bank and Bank of India are trading higher along with other PSU bank names, and that's the reason you are seeing big move in these two names also, and all the other PSU banks are trading with gains also. Now, some of the other mid-cap losers, that first on the list is Indian Bank. For the last few months, this stock has been moving higher. So today, it's a minor profit booking. That's the reason you're seeing a downtick of 3%. Manappuram Finance has moved lower despite an uptick we have seen in gold price. Today, it's sitting with a cut of almost 2%. All the jewelry stocks are under pressure. Thangamel Jewelry is one of the top losers, down almost 6%. And Garden Reach Shipbuilders is today under pressure, down almost 5%. And Vikrant Engineer, after falling yesterday, it's falling today further. And today also, it's trading with a cut of almost 3%.
Okay, some interesting movers in the broader markets. Thank you so much, Sudarshan, for joining in. We'll discuss Spark in greater detail in just a bit. But before that, let's welcome Shrikant Chauhan, EVP at Kotak Securities, for a quick technical check. Shrikant, good afternoon. Do you think we'll see further lower levels and we'll break that 26,000 mark today?
Yeah, good afternoon, Sonal. Good afternoon, Vivek and everyone. So for Nifty, our view is that it is consolidating and we are now very close to the important support levels of 26,000. In fact, market is currently trading within the important range of 26,050 and 25,950. I am of the view that in case if there is any correction, or maybe let's say we can say if we are reaching to the levels of 26,000, then there we should look for creating or taking some long bets in the market. With a stop loss at 25,900 on a short-term basis. I am again of the view that the market can move towards the levels of 26,300 in the near term.
Okay, Shrikant, amidst the kind of weakness that we're seeing in the benchmark indices, what is it that you're recommending to your clients? All longs, all shorts, or what is the kind of mix that we have today?
No, I think say at these levels, we need to be very, very stock specific. And instead of going short on any stock, if we look for buying some stocks from the broader market, I think that can give a better opportunity to take a specific trade in this market. In that particularly, we like IDFC First Bank. Currently, it is around some 82 levels. It has been consolidating since last 2 weeks. Eventually, it has crossed this level. So based on that, the next level to watch out for would be 88 and 92. So at this level, it's a very strong candidate to buy and hold with a stop loss at 79. The other stock on which we are bullish is Paradeep Phosphate. The stock, if we see the trend of the stock, then it was falling from the levels of 230. Currently, it is stabilizing at 160, 155. And from here, again, the stock can rebound to the levels of 199 or 200. So at this level, the risk reward ratio is quite favorable for buying at 160 with a stop loss at 145 and with a target of 200 on the higher side.
Okay. Shrikant, what about GSPL and Gujarat Gas? These two stocks are doing well in an otherwise weak market. Of course, they've come up from the highs. But do you think we'll see further up move from these levels?
See, for buying GSPL or Gujarat Gas, it is like something which is very difficult to predict based on its technical pattern, because all these stocks most of the time follows the news flow from the government, and based on that only we can take specific trading decision on the stock. But with a very short term point of view, it is very difficult to predict that at which side the stock can move.
Right. Shrikant, any view on, as far as metals are concerned, a little bit of weakness, especially in the last hour or so, worries about price cuts. On the charts, how are metals looking?
See, couple of stocks are doing really well from the metal basket. In fact, most of these stocks have reached to their fair value. But if we consider their technical pattern, then the juice is still left. We can expect activity in Hindustan Copper. We like Vedanta. We also like JSW Steel and Jindal Steel and Power. Specifically from the metal basket, we need to focus on JSW Steel, where we have target of 1250. Technically also the stock is forming high top, higher bottom series. And for Vedanta, it is consolidating above the levels of 500 since last so many weeks. So the next level to watch out for would be 580 or 590. So Vedanta, JSPL, JSW Steel, I think these are the stocks to keep on the watch list.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Shrikant, for joining in today with those individual bets and market levels to watch out for as well. With that, we'll slip into a break. When we come back, we'll focus on Spark. This is our special mid-cap spotlight segment to understand that big move on the stock. Stay tuned for that.
Welcome back to Midcap Radar. Well, one particular stock from the broader end of the market that stands out clearly is Spark. The stock is now perched at the upper circuit limit. Ekta joins in with more details as to what exactly caused the significant spike in the share price today.
Well, yes, the news with regards to Spark is that a US court has granted a summary judgment which is basically in favor of Spark, which is for their drug Sensex. Now, this is with regards to a priority review voucher. Now, what exactly is a PRV? A PRV is a special incentive which is granted by the FDA when certain drugs, which basically are, treating certain categories or difficult to treat categories. Now, the PRV allows the holder to get faster regulatory approval for an other drug application. PRVs are transferable. Companies can sell or license them to others. So that's possibly why you're seeing the stock higher. Now, the court held that FDA's withholding of PRV was contrary to the law. Contrary to the law because no drug product containing this particular phenobarbital sodium was previously approved. So Sensex is basically Spark's injectable formulation which contains phenobarbital sodium and is used to treat neonatal seizures in infants. So Sensex was in fact granted an orphan drug status by the US FDA. It was granted to Sun Pharma for marketing and distribution as well. So now that's the reason why you're seeing the stock higher by around 20-odd%. That's because the US court has granted a summary judgment which is in favor of Spark.
Okay, a big move in an otherwise weak market. Thank you so much, Ekta, for explaining that to us. But stay on. Wockhardt too is gaining in trade. US FDA has accepted NDA for Xenic. Tell us more about it and what did the management make of this?
Well, yes, the management has said that they expect approval possibly by mid of next year by the US drug regulator. They will need 4 to 5 months late post-approval. The file is complete and only evaluation is required by the US FDA going forward. The US FDA is visiting sites where the drug will in fact be manufactured. They are in continuous dialogue with them. The US FDA is also committed to a timeline, so that's why they have undertaken a fast-track approval. Xenic is used in more than 70 patients on a compassionate basis already. It's used on 3 patients in the US and the rest in India. Fundamental basis of approval, however, going forward will be on preclinical and clinical work. And Xenic would have a patent for 10 years at least if in case they do get approval. They've only applied in the US and India for Xenic's approval at this point in time. And interestingly, they haven't even seen any file opened with regards to Xenic when it comes to the India approval. So that's not something which is probably not in the near term. The market potential, according to them, is more than $1.5 billion. Peak sales could be $1 to $2 billion. US would be majority of that. And India could probably record over 150 crores in terms of sales for Wockhardt.
Well, thank you so much, Ekta, for joining in and giving us the details on Wockhardt. And today is another day that particular stock is doing quite well. In fact, earlier today, Habil Khurakiwala, founder and chairman of Wockhardt, joined us. And this is what he had to say on the opportunity as far as Xenic is concerned.
For the first time, for us and for India, a new drug application has been accepted by US FDA. And they normally would clear this drug in 6 to 8 months. So sometime middle of next year, we accept its approval in USA. And I think we need another 4 or 5 months after that to really introduce and launch the product in US. It's only evaluation by US FDA of our clinical trial and other scientific information. And they are visiting us to check up on the scientific information and visiting some of the sites where we have manufactured this product. This drug has proved a remarkable efficacy and safety, because one of the important things in antibiotic is normally not given for a week or 2. It was given longer time because the patient came at a very last stage. Actual market potential is about much more than that, but we expect that our drug should do about $1 billion or $2 billion of usage worldwide. US generally contributes 40% of the global market. So the Western market will contribute about 75% plus of the global revenue, and the balance will come from the other countries.
That's the word coming in from Wockhardt. The stock is holding up in an otherwise weak market. We'll slip into a break now. When we come back, we'll get you more on the markets and stock-specific actions, so stay tuned for that. Welcome back. While the advanced decline ratio is absolutely in favor of the declines right now, there are some outliers. For instance, Leica Labs, that is a small stock around 300 crore market cap, but it was buzzing last year and today it has made a comeback with gains of around 7%. We have GNA Axles. A lot of these auto numbers which are trickling in, GNA Axles is one of them, which is an auto ancillary name. That stock too is higher by 3.5%. Chennai Petroleum is up 2.5%. Last week it did see a big fall because of a question mark on whether these GRMs will sustain at higher levels or not. But today, some comeback on that one. Supreme Petro is up 2.5%. We have Natco Pharma too, which is doing well in trade. Glenmark Pharma, that is another pharma name which is higher in trade as we speak. From the Realty pack, we have Keystone Realtors, which is doing really well in trade. So watch out for that one. On the downside, we have something like an Aether Industries, which is down 4%. Wellspin Living too, under pressure today. That stock is down around 4%. Gokuldas Exports is the other one, seeing cuts of around 3.5% in trade. So some of these stocks which are on our radar are buzzing in trade, maybe on the upside or downside as we speak. Bajaj Housing is the other name on our radar. It is under pressure following a large block deal. The promoter Bajaj Finance is likely to have sold around 2.3% equity worth nearly 1,900 crore rupees. Hormuz is here to tell us more about the stock move since listing and whether more stake sale could be in the offing. Hormuz.
Well, the most bid IPO at that point of time was Bajaj Housing. Bids was almost around 3.5 lakh crores for that 6,500 crore rupee IPO. Today, the stock is down 50% from those post-listing highs of 188, made a 52-week low of 95 today. A block deal took place, almost close to 2.5% equity was sold by the promoters, Bajaj Housing, Bajaj Finance. Now, of course, they are doing this to comply with the minimum shareholding norms, but then there is still plenty of overhang that still remains for Bajaj Housing. That's because of the fact that even after selling today's stake, the promoter stake would still be at 86.3%. So that still means they still have another 11.5% stake still left to be sold. That remains the most important overhang for the stock going forward. And if you look at the IPO as well, you mentioned it was the most bid IPO. The QIB portion at that time was subscribed well over 200 times. The retail portion too saw healthy subscription for whatever was reserved for them. And even after that, the stock, after its listing from its IPO price of 70 bucks, went up to 190 and now trades below 100 rupees. So that is the key overhang. And of course, just as the stock continued to move higher, the retail shareholding went higher in the stock as well. From 16 lakh shares during listing day, within the next quarter, that number went up to 26 lakh shareholders. Today, that number stands at around 24 lakh, around 8% of the company owned by retail. Now, of course, mutual funds don't have a significant stake in the company. So it's only between the promoters and the retail shareholders, and this promoter stake sale continues to remain a big overhang on Bajaj Housing.
Well, thank you so much, Hormaz, for joining us and giving us all of the details as far as the Bajaj Housing Finance stake sale by the promoter is concerned. Now, remember, they would eventually have to bring down the stake to 75%, although with the latest SEBI guidelines, they do have some more time than the earlier strict 3-year timeline. But moving on, MV Photovoltaic Power is buzzing in trade today after reporting a strong set of Q2 numbers. In fact, earlier today, we caught up with the management of the company, and the CEO, Suhas Bonte, expects to maintain the current run rate on the top line. Also adds funding of 5,500 crore rupees of capex will be largely done via internal accruals. Let's listen in.
Capacity will remain from 2.94 to 2.94 by FY27, and by beginning of FY28, we will be adding another 6 gigawatt of cell manufacturing capacity. That will take us to 8.9 gigawatt of cell capacity. I think the current run rate is something we're very confident to achieve. So our debt is at 1,863 crores as of September, and we've repaid 1,621 crores. So our debt is now less than 100 crores of long-term debt that we have. So if you see that our operating cash flows have been quite positive, especially with our EBITDA and PAT numbers that are seen on results, and our capex plan is 5,500 crores for our expansion until 2028. And this is going to be funded in phased manner, and we've already have internal accruals for the equity portion, and there is 60% debt that is going to be that is already secured from IREDA for this.
Well, MV Photovoltaic, after a subdued listing, post Q2 numbers today has done quite well post at the upper circuit. But moving on, an important development as far as the Nifty bank constituents are concerned. Last evening, NSE released the final guidelines to align with SEBI's request to go ahead and ensure that there is not too much of a weight concentration as far as the large constituents of the Nifty bank are concerned. Basically, SEBI had gone ahead and asked NSE to trim the weights of the large stocks within the index with underlying future contracts. So under the revised methods, the top three constituent weights would be capped at 19%, 14% and 10% respectively. Now, in terms of stocks, what does this mean? Two stocks would likely make the entry as far as Bank Nifty is concerned, and this could be done as soon as the end of December 2025 is concerned. Yes Bank and Union Bank are the two stocks that could go ahead and enter the Nifty Bank Index. On the other hand, HDFC Bank and ICICI Bank will have to go ahead and see selling pressure on the back of the fact that they will see reduced weightage. Now, another, slightly related, but on the back of the fact that there is a slight disappointment that Indian Bank has not made the list as far as, entering the Nifty Bank is concerned. That particular stock had seen some amount of buying in anticipation of entering the NSE index. Indian Bank today, on the back of that, is under pressure. In fact, the stock is now near the day's lowest point. Well, that's an important development as far as NSE Bank Index is concerned. With that, we'll take your leave on this edition of Midcap Radar. MF Corner when we return.